And hello and welcome. My name is Ryan Belmore. I am the owner and publisher of What's Up Noop. Today is Friday, October 7th, and we are continuing our conversations with the candidates. As you've heard, as you've seen, hopefully, we have been having conversations with candidates running in local races. Recently, we have been chatting with candidates for Newport City Council at large, Newport School Committee. And I just want to make a quick note. Somebody had sent a message, why aren't we having the candidates for the wards in the city of Newport? They are all running unopposed, Ward 1, 2, and 3. If we have time at the end of the month, we'll have the unopposed candidates. But right now, we're really just trying to focus on the races that have more candidates than seats available, so that way we can help you make your decision. Today, we are on Newport School Committee, and no stranger to Newport School Committee is Louisa Boatwright. And Louisa, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. As I said, I have a little cold, but everything's good. Other than that, the sun is out.
That's it. Louisa, how many years? It's tough for me to keep up with everybody. How many years now have you been on the school committee?
I have done 2 full terms, so 4 years. It seems like longer because I volunteered for a long time before that. So I've been 2 full years on, and so I'm going for my 3rd term.
Yeah, it does seem longer. It seems like your name has been, which is a good thing, has been tied around the schools for so long. But I would have guessed a couple more terms than that, but good for you. Candidates declared back in June. What goes into the decision-making process that tells you, you know what, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring once again?
Well, for me, I bring certain skill sets, I think, to the table, a lot in the finance area. That's one of my pieces of background. So I've done a lot of work in that to try to stabilize that. I have to say COVID has helped a lot of that stabilization because, we had 4 months off of school. So we have a really wonderful lawyer on hand, Neil Galvin, and he was able to save us 4 months of bus contract. So that's huge. Very few districts had that. But also why I am running too is I'm on the school building. I'm co-chair of the school building project, which was funny, I have to say. When they were looking for co-chairs or chairs, we all looked to Ray Gomes, and he said, "Nope, I'm already chair of the." And then Becky's like, "Well, I'll run if Louisa will run with me." So that's how I became co-chair. But it's a huge, huge undertaking. There's a lot of hours daily and weekly. And so I just feel like that continuity is critical. We've learned so much from Pell and bringing that forward a whole year ahead of time from what we had told voters. And then with Rogers, there's just so many details that if you don't have the continuity, I think it would not be a good thing. So I'm in it to try to finish that project.
Yeah, I've heard from, I think, just about every candidate that I've spoken to about how many hours and what a big project that is. You probably don't hear it enough. So thank you for all your extra volunteer time that you put into that project.
Yeah, well, it's exciting, I have to say. I think COVID has really made it far more challenging than it needed to be, but it's going to be a really, really wonderful, fully integrated academic and career tech high school. We have, I have to say, Dr. Germain, the superintendent, has unbelievable relationships in the city. And so we have partners who are coming to help us out with some of these things to make it the best school for Newport. So super exciting, but it is a lot of work. And it's hilarious because every time I go walking around in buildings, I'm looking at floor tile and, things on the walls, and I've become a crazy person that way.
It's all right. It's like when you buy a house or you have a new home, and all of a sudden you're looking at everything and, oh, I want to do that. I like that. That mattress.
Yeah. Becky sends us pictures of faucets and bathrooms and airports. I mean, it's hilarious. So, but we have a really good time, and so.
I've joked that the school committee has had, it seems like, well, at least the last 2 elections, some pretty big things on the ballot. Are you guys gonna, keep it quiet after this one?
Well, we really needed a new high school, and the addition to Pell School, this new regionalization thing has come up in sort of well, I'm sure we're going to talk about that later, but, it's a huge question, really. But we'll get to that. I'm sure you're going to ask me about that. So.
Yeah, I might mention it. Putting the regional school district aside, what do you think some of the top priorities are for the school committee moving forward over the next couple of years?
Well, I really think that critical to the school committees, what we are here to do. It's policy, yes, but it's actually setting the goals, number one. The goals for the superintendent and the school department are critical. And I think that over the last several years, we've really tried to focus in on that. And so, the One Newport strategic plan was an amazing plan. It was to bring everybody together, to work hard together as one unit. Make sure that, read by grade 3, the career pathways, expanding, making sure there's multiple pathways for every student. And I mean, one of the things that has really gotten me into why I ran for school committee to begin with, I just want to go to that first and then come back to, is that I ended up on the city finance committee. I've always been involved in the school department, I have to say, because I believe in public schools. I think it's absolutely essential. I think Newport doesn't give enough attention to its schools and just kind of what's going on. But we were asked to look at new potential operational saves and revenues for the city. And I got on this, I was appointed to be on that committee, Newport Finance Review Committee. And in that, we were like, what can we do? And nobody wanted, there were 8 of us, nobody wanted to even look at the schools. I'm like, it's over a third of the budget. You got to look at this, right? So what we tried to do with that was, we looked at several items, but key to that was, consolidating the finance into the city for operations, which saved money and also made it a better partnership with the city because they then understood the finances. The second thing that was very big was the healthcare benefits. So really, Newport has a much higher amount of healthcare benefits than really any other district as a cost per child. And we said you have to, recently at that time, this was like, 7-8 years ago, Providence had just changed their plan to put it all into insurance projects and not self-insured. So, and we were very lucky. Dr. Germain had just come from Providence, so she knew how to do that. And she was able to get that done. And that has saved millions of dollars for the school district and for the taxpayers of Newport and going forward because we're not self-insured anymore. The other thing was really invest in the CTE programs and then market them. So make them better. So that's kind of where I come from. And then once that was done, I kind of got hooked and I really wanted to be involved in the public school system and on the school committee, so be at the table. So again, it's setting those goals of what are we trying to do? And we need to upgrade those, but equity in the classrooms, really focusing on rigor and so on. And it's one of the things that really, I think when we get to the regionalization conversation is absolutely critical because your strategic plan really does, and our superintendent is very good. When you say, these are our goals, she really follows them. That's really one of her real good strengths, right? So I have to say communication we've put on our list and things have gotten much, much better. We're still working on it, but in finances, we have to get it stable. We need to really make sure that we have a mechanism to increase quality of our programs. And I have to say the ESSER funds have made some of that really available by getting high quality curriculum. It's been on the budget for years and years, and we keep having to cut it. So I guess the number one thing is setting proper goals.
Superintendent Colleen Burns-Germain joins us the last Wednesday of every month. And I haven't heard her called Dr. Germain, so I wrote it down, and that is going to be on the agenda for our next conversation. So.
Right. Well, you got to ask her that, because she did that while she was superintendent. When she started, she was not a doctor. She went back because of the issues with absenteeism. So you ask her about that.
I will. I'll ask her about that. And if anybody wants to look up those conversations, you can find them all on whatsupnoop.com. Just search for Colleen Burns-Germain in our search bar, and all the videos will show up. Let's get to the elephant in the room, and then we could jump back, because I think a lot of what we're going to talk about hinges on it, and I want to give it its appropriate time. Question 5, what I'm going to preface this with is a couple things. People can see their sample ballot at vote.ri.gov. I encourage everybody, wherever you are in Rhode Island, to go visit your sample ballot. There'll be statewide questions. I think there's 3. There are 3 statewide, and then there question, at least in Newport, questions 4 through 10 are local issues. Question 5 in Newport is authorizing the establishment of a regional school district. Very long language. In my opinion, it's a little confusing when you just read that for the first time and haven't been paying attention to the conversation. But besides my opinion, where do you fall on the approving, rejecting question 5, regional school district, the process, where we are, where we're going?
Well, when we went to Middletown, I was 100% into it, okay? By trying to come together to start talking about a regional system. And my vision was to have one high school that was integrated career tech and academic. So that being said, and then we were told no. And okay, well, we were told no. So you go all in on, we're not getting regionalized. So I did research on what's the proper size of a high school. What's the optimal size of a high school? Anybody can Google it. And there's several reports out there, but it actually says 600 to 900 students, which I was actually surprised about. Everybody had said 1,200 was great. But, and Rogers is set to be 755 students. So right in that optimal number. It's why it says best teacher-student relationships, because they might have them more than once, a teacher. 2, the community culture is much more of a community, and not a large decentralized kind of environment. And then they're much less likely to fall through the cracks. So I'm like, that sounds good for Newport. Still with regionalization, though, I mean, there are benefits to regionalization, to being able to offer more classes and things like that. But that would really be if there's one school. And what I feel the problem with this particular regionalization is it kind of came out of, executive sessions and then being pushed out. It's really about getting the extra dollars for the facilities. And many, many people, when we were talking about the bond last time, was like, facilities isn't education. And I agree with that. It's part of education. But to do education right, you need that strategic plan I was just talking about. And everybody should have the same vision. I look at regionalization as a marriage. You don't go into marriage like without some agreed upon and some, sort of the same vision. Any marriage to be successful, you need to be on the same page. And I'm sad because we could have done that, and we can do that in the future. This money makes it very attractive, 80%, but is it really the right thing to do now? I think we should have the same vision. And it's sad because we could have done that, but we didn't do that. But I don't think it's right to go in. There's just way too much risk. I also think if we all build new high schools at this 80%, they are set up for 2 distinct districts. and there's not economies of scale. And One Newport, as I talk about, is such an important aspect of our strategic plan because everybody gets the same opportunities, access to the same opportunities. And I can't see how that would happen with this. And, many people say, well, you'll get 67% into the future. I don't really see that happening because we will have just built all brand new buildings. Nothing will be under 20 years old. Why would taxpayers want to redo them? I'm not sure they would. So I think, sadly, that the right process is getting the same vision together and making sure we're on the same page before we go forward with this. So that's where I might stand.
So you are on the reject side of it.
I am, yeah, because I think where we are, I'm elected by the people in Newport to have the best school system we can. And I think that there are definitely benefits to regionalization, but this process that we've been using is not the right process. We should be moving together in the same direction and not moving to build all these new schools as separate districts. And we have brand new schools that are not set up appropriately for regionalization. So I think that the benefits, as I said, for our school is the best teacher-student relationships, the community culture, less kids falling through the cracks. If we want to come together and really figure out the right way to do it, we should take that time and agree upon it before we go forward. Education, I'm about education. I love the money, but we don't know what the educational impacts of this will really be. So that's my job. So I'm not for it.
Louisa, you're going to get a question here because you're later in the process of my interviewing, which just is based on both of our availabilities.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, I've interviewed 1, 2, you're 3, 4, 5, 6.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 out of 6,
mm-hmm.
I could push to or are leaning rejecting.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think that says?
Well, I think we're all sort of saying the same things. Well, at least 5 of us of the 6. That the process really needs, again, you got to look at a marriage. Marriages can fail, so we need to do the right thing. You can't just say this is good for education unless it's been thought through. Now, you can think through it after the fact, but here's a couple specific examples. Like, we just bought new curriculum. So did Middletown. They're different. So instead of focusing on student quality and education right now, we're going to just be diverting to, okay, somebody's going to have to give up their curriculum. And then again, going back to our goals, when I first got on the committee 4 years ago, was stop changing curriculum. You need to get into it. You need to make sure it's quality, and you need to really you improve over time by understanding it. Granted, we didn't have high quality curriculums because we couldn't afford it, but now we have money to afford it. So we are mission driven, and unlike the city, our job is to have high quality education for Newporters. And so as an elected official with that mission, city council has many missions, okay? But for this mission, and it is about education, people, I go back to it. It's not all about the facilities. It's about how you put education forward. Will it kill us? No, but to regionalize, if that was to happen, I'd be all in on it. I'd be saying, but everybody who's involved needs to come see Newport operations, because we have so many wonderful things going on. Middletowners that I speak to, they're like, oh, great. If we regionalize, we can send some of our kids to NAPTech and we won't have to pay for it. We have a jewel going on down here, really, but people don't see all the benefits of that. And we need to do a better job communicating that. We get tons of state and national awards, more than most districts. But it's all test scores, and that we're working on. And that's the other thing, is these ESSER funds that Newport got a lot more than others, all low performing districts did, to get them to go from low performing to high performing. That is what we're trying to do right now. Regionalization to me would just take us into a tailspin, and we'd be focusing on the operations versus, I don't know. That's my position. So.
And just to go back to it, there are 8 candidates running for 7 seats on Newport School Committee. We have spoken to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 so far. We have 1 coming up after you, and I'm still working to organize with one of them. But no matter how the other interviews play out, the majority of Newport School Committee members, current and candidates, are leaning towards the reject side. I just want to put that out there in case I confused anybody.
Right.
It passes. There are savings. What do we do with the income that might come in?
So you say the income that might come in. The way this is set up is that on the facilities, there'll be more state reimbursement, period. It will go from, for Newport, 52.5% up to 80%. So that money is, you don't have to tax it. And I know you have heard some of the interviews. That's a fact. They can either just lower the cost of taxes. And I know many of the counselors that you talk to say there's too much tax burden. So this is an opportunity for them to not increase the taxes as much. Number 2, so that's one. Number 2, seems to me, and what I tried to do right when this was announced, regionalization, is see where is there an educational benefit, and said, look, we should set up a trust fund with some of those savings should go back into education. What happens is, and I'm chair of the finance committee, so I know a lot about finance. We every year go to the city, and in the future with regionalization, you'd go to that finance committee, which is made up of counselors, the town side and the city side, counselors and also the city managers, but and ask for your annual increase, which is going to be 0 to 4%, because that's what it is, But the operational saves that the consultant have thrown out, and I have asked for specifics, and we have not gotten them. They say central office, you'll get about 1.2 million. Well, we are not fully staffed between Middletown and Newport. Middletown doesn't have an HR director, doesn't have a finance director, doesn't have a facilities director. We don't have a facilities director. Both of us actually have, I think, our operations in the city for finance. All that would have to be pulled out if we become a regional entity. So I'm not sure how much savings there would be. Not 1.2 million, in my opinion. And then all the comparisons they show that they say is 4.8 million, up to 4.8 million, they say, are comparisons to other districts that only have one high school. And there are efficiencies when you have one high school. We are not building one high school. The other thing that happened is I asked at our meeting, like, how big is Middletown's middle school, high school going to be? And they said it's going to be 1,098 students. So I'm like, oh, there's an opportunity. You could grow that, make that into one high school. Recently, I've heard it's all on the same campus, but there's definitely 2 buildings. And so I just not sure.
Let's jump back over to school committee for a couple minutes here. What do you think the biggest challenge is for Newport School Committee right now?
The biggest challenges, I think, are really getting sort of the word out. We are not to be a political organization. We're very mission driven. right? Which is really trying to make sure that we have the best school systems possible. And the biggest challenge is setting forth the next strategic plan and making sure that it's going to give the superintendent sort of the marching orders for all the principals and so on as to how to improve education. We've had an influx of funding through ESSER, and that is to take us from low performing into higher performing. And how do we do that? I think we're really doing a lot of good things in that. It's getting the word out to the community, all those good things that we're doing. I think we really need to get more people into the school systems. We have History Day, we have a science fair with judges, we have a finance day. We should try to get more people in to do all those things are sort of looked at, and you have judges and so on, and get more people into the schools to see some of the cool things that are going on. I just think that we're a district that's very diverse, lots of cultures. That's actually a huge benefit, really, in a lot of ways. But when only everybody looks at only test scores, we need to bring test scores up for sure, but we also need to do a better job in explaining what we do really well and where do our kids end up going and how successful are they. Because I think that my core being is the love of learning. Like, we need everybody to just love learning, and being doctors and lawyers is not, and going into the world of finance is not really the end all be all for everybody. We want everybody to have access to all the learning opportunities, find it interesting and fun to learn, and then find where your passion is so that you can go into a field that you enjoy and that will be able to support you in your life and what you want to do. So, and I just think that the challenge is making sure students get that opportunity, and that the residents understand that we're really always working to improve that.
This might tie in with the, political versus mission driven. What do you think the biggest misunderstanding or the biggest understanding of the Newport School Committee is from the public?
I think that, again, we're very mission driven, and I think, we don't really we don't do a lot of things people think we do. It's really run by the school system, but the misinterpretation is really that the only thing that's important is test scores. And I think it's really beyond that. I think if they really understand Newport, and again, I'm going to give kudos to Dr. Germain on this one. She has really brought the community into the school system. We have all fourth graders, I'm a big sailor, okay, are going down to Sail Newport. Every single one of them get that opportunity. That's why one Pell, one elementary school has worked. Everybody gets the same advantages. And they see science and math. There's so much geometry in sailing. It's unbelievable, and writing and so on. So they integrate all the learning into experiential learning, They're doing the same things. Every grade is having some of this stuff. Really, we need to take that up and once you get into 8th grade and really in middle school, more exposure into what kind of careers are they and what do you need? What is the foundation you need in that middle school time to then, when you go to high school, you need to be exploring different things and learning things. That's your foundation. Education is your foundation and provides opportunities for you to open different pathways in your future. That's really all education is. And so the challenges is really trying to make sure that we have residents understanding what really is going on in the Newport school system, Kids are getting national awards all the time, and in career areas, really. And test scores are not the end all be all. Like, they last and then they're gone. It's just like, what's your GPA? Like, do you really care what it was when you were in high school? In real life, no. But the rigor is critical. The opportunities are critical, that we have to put forth before students. So
This has been a fun one, but you have the opportunity to drop a note in front of every Newport resident. What's something you wish everybody knew?
Well, I think I've been saying it, actually, is that a lot of good things are going on in Newport Public Schools, really. We're trying to bring kids out, expose them to all things Newport has. Newport is an amazing place. I've lived in Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and I settled here because there's so much learning you can do in this town. I mean, there's speakers everywhere. There's film festival. There's sailing. There's so the environment around us is so beautiful, and really, the fact that we're able to give that experience to all of our students is amazing. And the bigger you get, okay, I'm going back to regionalization here. Okay, the bigger that you get, I want every student, every child to learn, no doubt about that. But my job, I was elected by Newport, and we are trying to give students in this town as much opportunity as possible. If you get too big, you can't do everything, so anyhow, yeah. So
What's a good way that residents of Newport can support school committee and Newport Public Schools?
one of the things we need to do better is get a way to communicate to residents how they can come in and help, and really create more opportunities for them to get engaged. So I put that on us, but then to really ask, because in the old days we had, there's groups that would come in and read in the elementary school. I mean, right now we do have students going out into the community. So we actually are doing a lot of it, but by program and really set up in a high quality way. But I still think that we need to, some of these programs, I was saying the history day and the science day and the finance day, bring more residents in to see really some of the cool things that are going on. I think Newport does this really amazing finance day at the end of the year for the high school, which I just think is fabulous. I mean, it's life skills, that's key, life skills. So
Excellent. Louisa, was there any other topics or anything else that you wanted to dive into today?
I don't think so. I think we've covered most of them, but
We can hours, as I say with everybody. It's a big lift, but I really enjoy doing this because I think it's not all the normal questions you might see, but I think it gives you a good insight into the personality and why people do what they do, and where their passion comes from. So I'm going to end with, you're one of 8 on the ballot. Why do you want people to put a check mark next to your name or fill in the bubble?
Yeah, well, I guess one is keep the consistency on the school building committee. We have a great team of 21, but I think I bring a lot of knowledge, and now I have a lot of the details, and throwing that out the window would not be a wise move. I think Becky and I and Colleen have been having a good time and really working hard on that. Second, I love learning. I'm very process oriented, and I think that I like to be part of the solution. I think that's what the school committee should be, people who want to work to make it better. Never try to undermine the school systems. That's not our job. And that's really what I'm here for, is to try to find the best practices and set the right goals and support the school system and listen to residents. I take every call that is made to me, and try to make sure that we are doing the best thing that we can and support the school administration and the school district's efforts. So, yeah, so please vote for me on October 8th. I'm number 1 on the ballot this
All
time, which
right.
is amazing.
Early voting starts October 19th, and so you can start voting then. And then, of course, the general election is coming up here on November 8th. Vote.ri.gov. Please go see the candidates that you will be voting for. Learn about them. You can learn about them on our website or on others out there. And flip over that ballot, and there are 10 questions on the back. Be an educated voter is what I ask, and what all of the candidates can agree on.
Right. And that, I want to thank you, Ryan, for this, because you are really doing a great job on educating voters. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Best of luck over the next couple of weeks, and we will chat soon.
Okay. Take care.
All right. She is Louisa Boatwright, and she is one of the 8 candidates running for Newport School Committee. And we wish her the very best of luck, and we thank her for taking time to join us today. If you want to rewatch this, share it, compare, contrast candidates, all available on whatsupnoop.com via video that you just saw. We also have been taking these and turning them into podcasts. So you can find them as audio, which might make it easier for you to consume them while you're driving, while you're working, while you're walking around Newport. Those are all available on whatsupnoop.com as well, or on wherever you listen to podcasts. Just look for What's Up Podcast with Ryan Belmore. Thanks for watching.